Always great catching up with my next guest, Neil Mangy, who's got a big fight coming up here against Mike Malott, UFC 297 in Toronto. He's already got the get-up for the Canadian weather there. Neil, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
No complaints, man. Tell me how this fight came together. When did you find out?
Literally just kind of got sprung on me a couple weeks ago. I wasn't even in a position to even start looking for a fight, thinking about a fight. We're just getting kind of like my ducks lined up in a row, so to speak, in my personal life and that kind of thing, with some new adjustments and that kind of stuff going on. So I wasn't even thinking of a fight or had a fight on my radar at all. So once the fight came through, it was just kind of like one of those moments like, all right, cool. Now you got things situated. Now you got things settled down. Let's go ahead and figure out what the structure of your training camp is going to be like, and let's just move forward with it.
Do you like fighting in enemy territory? Like, obviously Mike's from Toronto, so he's going to have the crowd on his side. I know you've fought in enemy territory before in much worse conditions, by the way, but how are you feeling about being sort of the guy coming in to spoil the party?
I love it. Honestly, it's like extra bit of motivation almost. I mean, one of some of the best fights that I've had was you kind of go into enemy territory, so to speak. And at first you're getting booed, they're chanting whatever they're chanting. And then afterwards, after the fight, even though you just beat their guy, they're like, holy crap, that was a good fight. Like, yeah, you're the man, you're the man. So to go out there and get that kind of shift within fight night where it's like at first you're hated and then right afterwards you're loved or whatever. It's a pretty cool feeling to get.
Let's talk quickly about your last fight. I know you had to take a short notice fight against Ian Garry. I know you hurt yourself early in the fight, but what did you take away the most from that performance that you're bringing into this one?
The biggest thing that took from that fight is the preparation that goes into it. I mean, shortly after that fight, I made a post that stated something along the lines of you can't expect results for work you didn't put in, so to speak. And that's literally how I felt at that moment when I was sitting there processing everything with the Ian Garry fight. It was a huge opportunity for me. It was a huge card to go into Boston, that kind of thing. It was an opportunity for me to go out there and get the job done against a young up-and-comer. But the reality of it is, if I look at what I was doing the weeks prior to that fight, I wasn't training to be the best guys in the world. Was I in the gym? Sure. Was I eating healthy? Yeah, sure. Was I eating at the level that needed my body to perform at its best visibility? No. Was I training to the level that I need to go out there and be the best guys in the world? Absolutely not. So when I take into consideration the preparation and the effort I put in prior to that fight, I really couldn't be too upset with the results. I mean, I had to hold myself accountable and realize that yeah, there was a point in my life where these short notice fights were easier to go into and come out victorious. But that was a far different time. I was literally living in the gym back then. I was getting told by my coach, hey man, you've been here 6, 7, 8 hours. It's time for you to go home, get out, go home, go rest, go recover, go do something. Where now life has changed completely. I mean, I'm a single father trying to balance raising my 2 kids and a career and running a business and that kind of thing. So now when I go to the gym, it's not like I have all the time in the world to spend there. I'm trying to carve out time around my day to go to the gym and be effective. So me going to my next fight, the biggest lesson I took away from the Ian Garry fight was just 100% about my preparation. So for this training camp, I literally laid out step by step, day by day, hour by hour, even what training camp will look like, who my training partner is going to be, what is the focus of training going to be on as far as what techniques am I drilling, what positions am I working on, what are my offensive tactics going into this fight. I'm literally laying it down like I'm going on a mission at this point. I have everything lined up and I'm ready to go. And I feel like that kind of fresh preparation going into a fight yields for the best result for me personally. And I can kind of deal with whatever the outcome is regardless of when the loss is based off of how I felt going into the fight and how my preparation was.
Sorry to hear about you and the mother of your children splitting up. Did that happen before the fight or was that after? If you don't mind me asking, I was just curious because obviously there's a lot going into that fight, right, with Garry?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot on my plate in this past year competing-wise. I mean, this is a situation I heard I've been going with for going on almost 2 years now as far as juggling the relationship and that kind of thing, and then trying to manage what's going to look like with the kids you get middle of it. But that was also something that I had to take in consideration when it comes to how is that going to affect me emotionally and mentally going into my fights. I had to fight 3 times this year with the idea of what's going to happen next? Where are my children to be? Are they okay? Is this happening? Is that happening? So there's a lot of things to juggle outside the training camp or outside of fighting in general. They kind of weighed on me heavily this past year. But now, end of the year, I'm very fortunate that most of that stuff is wrapped up in a very good place now. Mentally, I have a great relationship with my children and my children's mother, where we can both focus on what's best for their kids and keep them the main priority. And that allows me to go out there and be the best version of myself. And I feel like when things are lined up that way, where I'm actually able to focus on the task at hand and prioritize my kids when they need me, kind of thing, it just allows me to align things a lot better compared to the chaos and hectic schedule that I had towards the beginning of this year.
Got to bring this up just because I know this was a kind of a talking point going in. I know you had sort of that quote going into the Garry fight about, I'm going to give him a whooping. And I mean, people can read the quote. You don't have to see it. You kind of wish you made a better analogy there. Because listen, Neil, I've interviewed you for years. I know you're not a bad guy. I know you're not like abusing your kids or anything. But the way that was painted, did that annoy you, how Garry sort of took advantage of that and kind of painted you as a child abuser?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was, and I'm right back to where I was before, like taking accountability for it. Was I the one that opened my mouth and made a stupid statement? Yeah, absolutely. I can hold myself accountable for that. But majority of the people out there, I would say 99% of people out there, knew what I was saying, knew what I was getting at, would never ever consider like it would be something that would be out there harming my kids, so to speak. But that in itself had like a lot more consequences than just like nonsense at a press conference. There was literally screenshots being taken of headlines saying that like I'm a child abuser and I do this to my kids and that kind of thing. There were screenshots being taken and put into apps and things like that are being admissible in court, where I'm literally fighting for custody of my children, so I'd be a present father for them and that kind of thing. So when it was all said and done, there was something that I said, there was something that came out very poorly on my end. The way that he chose to blow it out of proportion has some pretty significant consequences for me, and it was a lot bigger than just selling a pay-per-view, selling a fight or that kind of thing. It was literally like my children's relationship was at stake at that point. And at the end of the day, it wasn't cool. I can't sit there and brush it off. It was actual some significant consequences that came about with that statement or whatever. But at the end of the day, all I can do is hold myself accountable for the things that comes out of my mouth. I mean, I can say whatever I'm going to say, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that people are going to take it or interpret it the way I meant it when I said it.
So were there like people looking into you, like how you deal with your children and stuff? Like it sort of sounds by everything that you just said there, that like they did kind of look into it and see if like there is any abuse there, but which is terrible.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you know much about how divorce processes work out and that kind of thing when child custody is at stake and that kind of thing. It's a lot of you and your partner who you have child with, you're not partners at that point. You're almost at enemies, and any little bit of anything you can get to kind of sway things within your favor, to have things work out in your benefit or whatever. Some people would choose to do that or whatever. So having these headlines and having these statements that say that like, oh, Neil beats his kids or whatever else it may be, not a lot of people, it was directly between my partner's attorney and them choosing to take those headlines and put them in court documents to make it admissible in court, where that can actually affect the relationship that my children and I have moving forward, kind of thing. So there was something I said, there was something that was very dumb on my part. The way that some media personnel chose to go about it, making that the headline, the way Ian Garry chose to go about it, making the center of conversation for press conferences and that kind of thing. I think it was very poor on their end, but at the end of the day, I can't fault anybody else for things that came out of my mouth.
Right. No, absolutely. And just sort of last thing on Garry, like, you know, at the end of the fight, he's flipping you off. And there was kind of like this whole thing of where he made you out to be like this sort of like this really, really bad guy, which you've never been accused of, by the way, in your career. That must have annoyed you too after the fight. Like, I'm sure you watched the replay and he's flipping you off.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, the things that he said, like, and when it came out, like, I can honestly care less about it. I'm very fortunate that like I was able to resolve those issues when it came to how to actually affect my children and that kind of thing. But at the end of it, for me is just the competition aspect is what fuels me going into it. And regardless of what his actions he said or how silly he looked or anything else like that, at the end of the day, he beat me, and that part stings more than anything. Like, you know what I mean? So whether he flipped me off or he gave me a high five at the end, it would have made me feel better any kind of way. Knowing that I lost is what kind of like bothers me to this day, so to speak. So you know what I mean? So his antics after the fight, did it bother me too much? No. The loss itself speaks further than anything he could have possibly done at that point. So for me, it's just a matter of collecting myself, collecting my thoughts, collecting my emotions. It's kind of moving forward, getting back on winning side of things, and this kind of carrying forward my career. I mean, if there's an opportunity down the road for a rematching like that, like I'm definitely going to be biting the chops for the opportunity. But until then, it's like, all right, you got the best of me that night. Congrats to him, move forward kind of thing.
Are you kind of paying attention to what's going on right now with him? Because a lot of fans are sort of turning on him, like along with your thing and the Jeff Neal thing. There was the post he made with Vicente Luque. He's getting baptized, and Garry makes like a comment on that. And then there's all this personal stuff as well. Have you been seeing what's going on with all that?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it, and it's been kind of hard for me to like get away from it and ignore it kind of thing. Like I'm literally getting tagged in probably, I'm not even exaggerating, like 50 posts a day. I have literally 500 messages of people who text me about things that Ian Garry said, things he's going with. But like I said earlier, I mean, the competition aspect is what drives me the most. And even though, for lack of better words, even though Garry came across being a dick during that entire process and the way he chose to carry himself, at the end of the day, he got the best of me in competition, and that's what I tend to focus on more. Going through what I just went through over the last 11 months now, with my own personal family, my own child custody battles, my own personal things like that. I'd be kind of a hypocrite. I'd be kind of a jerk to turn around and try to kick someone while they're down, so to speak. Even though he may be perceived as being a jerk, I mean, it'll be a very terrible short character on my end to kind of kick me out when he's down at this point, especially when there's a child at stake in the middle of all this. Like, I'm sure his dad may have said some dumb things or whatever, but I'm no different than Ian Garry. I may be a little less reserved as far as like I'm not as outspoken as he has, but I made plenty of stupid decisions that affected the way that my life has played out over the last couple of years. So for me to sit there and throw stones at somebody else for the choices they made and that kind of thing, it just wouldn't be right on my end. I mean, at the end of the day, the biggest thing it comes down to is the sport aspect of it, and that's what the focus needs to be on. It's unfortunate that he has all this extra baggage going on between his wife and everything else like that, but regardless of what happens with the two of them, they both have a child they share together, and that child's going to need both their parents present in order for him to get the best life possible. So I hope that he's able to figure it out for the sake of his child and gets over whatever nonsense he's going through, but I'm not going to be the guy to kind of throw stones at another man, especially when a situation that could involve his children.
Sure, you've had fans though reach out and give you support, because I think people saw that whole situation from the last fight and said, this guy's trying to bully a pretty nice guy here in Neil Magny. Did you get a lot of fan support during and after the fight?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that carries me through the entire time. And I mean, over the course of my career, I've never been the guy who had like a million social media followers kind of thing, but I've always had like a strong core group of friends and fans and that kind of thing, and always stuck through regardless of whatever thing I was going through. I mean, even on fight night, like sometimes going to the fights, you'll see the polls that are posted by whether it's ESPN or Fox Sports 1 or whatever network we're fighting on. You'll see the polls that are posted like, who do you think is going to win this match tonight? And a lot of the times, like, that turns into more of a popularity contest, and you'll see the odds favor out, where it's like most of the times it's like, oh yeah, likely my opponent's going to win, and the odds looking like 80% to 20% or 90% to 10% kind of thing. So I've always been very appreciative of the 10 to 20% loyal fans and friends that stuck with me through whatever I was going through, whatever. And right now it's no different. So though that nonsense that Ian Garry was talking got some traction, had some idiots out there saying that they were going to say, the people who knew me directly, knew me closely, and knew my character, it meant a lot to me that they were the ones that were willing to step up and speak on my behalf and kind of be like, hey man, you're not that kind of guy. You're an amazing person. You're an amazing dad. You're a great dude. Yeah, we all have our flaws or whatever it may be, but yeah, that's not you. We're not buying it kind of thing. So I definitely appreciated the ones that kind of stuck through and had my back throughout that whole situation.
All right, let's talk about Mike Malott. Sorry, we had to get all that out of the way because I know, no, but I like it was sort of a big thing that happened, so I couldn't really just brush past it. But first, yeah, no, for sure. First though, I was curious. Like, did you know much about Mike Malott before taking this fight? I was curious about that.
No, not at all. I literally just got an email with a name and a date. Like,
okay.
Throughout my UFC career, I'd never been the kind of guy to like, I don't know, maybe this date, maybe that date. I just been like, name, date, location, and I'll figure out the rest from there. So when the email came through for Mike Malott, it was no different. So I was like, all right, cool. I got a name, I got a date. Let's go ahead and make it happen. And when this fight got offered, there was a little bit of a hesitancy in my coaching staff to take the fight. It was more so just because of different factors that they were considering. Like, hey, you're going against another tough guy. You're going to somebody else's territory. You're doing this. You're doing that. My exact response to him is like, hey, I've never been a guy to pick and choose my opponents throughout my entire UFC career. I'm going into year 12 in the UFC banner. I've never once picked and chose who I was going to fight or when I was going to fight those people. I just did the work and showed up and fought and gave my all kind of thing. If I'm at the point in my career now where I get a fight offer that's 12 weeks away and I'm having to discuss whether or not I'm going to take the fight or not, the conversation I need to have with my coaches is something completely different at this point. And that was my motivation to taking this fight. I had 12 weeks notice. I was like, there's no doubt in my mind I'll be perfect for this fight. There's no doubt in my mind I'm going to go out there and have a great performance or whatever with that amount of time to prepare for this fight or whatever. So once that fight came through, once I seen the amount of time that it had, in my mind was already made up. So regardless of what my coaches may have thought at that moment, I was like, hey, I'm going with it. If you guys feel like I shouldn't take this fight with the amount of time that we have to prepare for it, we need to have a completely different conversation about where my career is going.
Training camp. I was just telling you off air. I talked to your teammate there, Basil Hafez. Looks like everything is sort of all cylinders firing at the gym. Who are you mainly working with as far as training partners for this camp?
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of work with Basil, get some grappling work, some wrestling work, some striking work with Basil. But I have to rely on some of my old school training partners for this one. Bojan Velikovic is fighting end of December, so he's in training camp right now. So he and I are getting some pretty cool, like, old school gym battles going on right now, where it's like it turns like a tight game of chess. I mean, at this point, training with Bo for almost 10 years now, like, he and I probably have, not even exaggerating, probably close to 1,000 rounds with one another with grappling, wrestling, striking, sparring, all that kind of stuff. So it literally comes down to like one mistake making a difference in how our training session would go. And that just kind of forces me to be in a place to show up and be mentally present when it comes to those training sessions with Bo. The other one I'm leading on this training camp was Sun Yan, one of my old school training partners, amazing wrestler who's able to bring out some really good things in me. And I'm relying heavy on him in this training camp as well. And it's cool because with guys like Sonny, it's though he took some time away from MMA and that kind of thing, his wrestling base is where his strength lies, and I'm really relying on that skill set being the biggest aspect that I take away in our training sessions. So there are days that if we're sparring, like, sure, I can run around, I can jab, I can kick, I can keep my distance or whatever, but it's like, no, you are a far better wrestler than I am. I want to go challenge myself in the wrestling department. So I'm putting myself in this situation and positions where I'm going to be forced to grow, forced to evolve, forced to develop over the course of this 12-week training camp. And that's the part that excites me. I mean, this training camp 4 weeks ago was not going well at all. Like, between the training partners that had pushed me and that kind of thing, it was like, damn, dude, he was getting a beating day in and day out. This is not going well. But that's how I wanted this training camp to be structured. I didn't want to just go in there and kind of be comfortable, be familiar, be complacent. I wanted to go in there and really feel like, crap, it's 12 weeks ahead of me. I have a lot of work to do. And that's exactly what I got with the guys I've been training with.
Who's making the trip with you to Toronto? Who will be heading down there with you?
So for this one, I'm going to have Jared McCluskey and Christian Allen go with me. Depending on how Bo's fight goes in December, he may end up coming out there with me as a training partner / coach as well.
And do you know when you're heading down there?
Just a week off. I mean, Toronto's not too far as far as like travel goes, as far as like being able to get there early enough to acclimate to the time shift and that kind of thing. So just kind of quick business trip Tuesday to Sunday. Go out there, get it done, come home, celebrate my son's birthday.
There you go. How's this fight playing out? How do you see it going down on January 20th?
I'm going to say a great fight. I mean, I've been working a lot of different offensive treats for this training camp. One of the things, in addition to the that took with the Ian Garry fight, was just when I talk about preparation was just different aspects of my game that needed to develop over the years. And seeing that corner that Ian Garry took to his fight made that very apparent for me. He brought two past opponents of mine were in his corner. He had Phil Rowe and Gilbert Burns in his corner. And those guys were able to give him enough intel on me to have him go out there and be very precise in his attacks and his offensive attacks and that kind of thing. So that let me know it was time for me to go ahead and switch things up a bit, kind of like get uncomfortable, get in this unfamiliar territory and kind of thrive there. And that's what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, is kind of really forcing myself to kind of evolve my game, change my game, kind of build off of some of my strengths and just kind of improve some of my weaknesses or whatever, where come January 20th, I'm a completely different fighter than I've been my last 30 fights plus in UFC now.
Good. Obviously, at the top of your weight class, we've got the title fight coming up in a few weeks. Colby Covington, Leon Edwards. What's your prediction on that one? Who do you think gets it done?
Depending on how Leon chooses to prepare for this fight, I see that fight favoring Colby. Colby's not a guy who's going to switch his game plan up for the sake of pleasing the crowd or pleasing the media. He's a guy that's going to go out there and he's like, all right, cool. I need to out-wrestle Leon Edwards. I'm not going to do anything else but out-wrestle him. So unlike some of the other fights where some of Leon's opponents may have shied away from their game plan or their strengths or whatever, to kind of put on a more exciting fight. I don't think Colby is going to care one way or another what the crowd thinks of his fight. He's just go out there and just kind of do what he needs to do to get the fight done. And I feel like his wrestling pressure would be enough to overwhelm Leon for 25 minutes.
What's the latest with your contract? Do you have a couple fights left on your deal? I know you deal directly with the UFC. You don't have any management.
Yeah. So I believe this will be my second fight of 4 in my new
nice
contract.
Okay, cool.
So shortly, it'll be the third. So right before the Ian Garry fight, I get a new contract at the UFC and move forward. So yeah, should be up for a new spot here pretty soon.
Gotcha. So we'll know that. So big fight. Like if you go out there and beat Malott here, you'll have a lot of negotiating power, I'm sure, because that's like, obviously, like you're kind of doing the UFC a favor. You're flying to Toronto to fight their guy, right?
No. At the end of the day, there's no favors with.
Okay, fair enough.
Big companies, and I know the things I have to learn. I mean, I've seen it with other teammates, and I've seen it with some of my peers that fight for the organization. Like at the end of the day, like you get compensated for your time and for your fight. So in their eyes, you showing up to fight is that was enough. You had your show purse, that was guaranteed, so that's enough of a pat in the back. It's not like at least my experience, I don't feel like UFC ever owes me anything for taking a short notice fight or traveling elsewhere, that kind of thing. It's more so up to me to make the best of the opportunity, and that's just a better way of looking at it to avoid disappointment or letdown. If I look at it as if like I'm doing UFC a favor and they owe me something or something like that, the only person to be disappointed at the end of the day is going to be me. So if I focus on the opportunity itself, make the best of it, everything else tends to line up from there.
Neil, thanks for the time. We went way over. Appreciate it as always. I know you're a busy guy. It's UFC 297, January 20th. If there's anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media you want to mention, I'll give you the last word.
Like always, it's more about just me, but if you guys can, just go ahead and follow mission111.org. I'm not sure if you guys are following world news and that kind of thing. There's a lot of gang violence going on in Haiti. There's a lot of people who need help there. So if you guys can, just follow mission111.org and see all the different bulletins that they're posting as far as like the current events going on there, different ways that you can help.